Here's something that's going to sound backwards. The people most excited about crypto right now might be the exact reason it hasn't bottomed yet. I know that sounds harsh, but stick with me because by the end of this video, you're going to look at your charts completely differently. Let's start with a confession. Back in late 2024 and early 2025, I started tracking a specific metric. Let's call it a crowd tracker, designed to do one simple thing. Tell me when everyday retail traders were piling into the market. And every single time that tracker lit up, I told you the same thing. I said, if you're buying Bitcoin here, if you're buying XRP here, you are taking on risk you might not be pricing in correctly. Late 2024, the tracker fired. Early 2025, it fired again. And both times, what followed wasn't a victory lap, it was pain. Here's the pattern that nobody wants to admit out loud. Retail crowds are phenomenal at calling tops and almost uniformly terrible at calling bottoms. Look at any real bottom in crypto history and you'll notice something strange. It's quiet, boring, sideways. Nobody's talking about it. Volume is flat, engagement is dead. That silence is actually the signal. Now flip it around. Watch what happens near a top. Suddenly everyone's an expert. Group chats light up. "We're so back" becomes a meme again. Influencers start posting moon charts. That noise, that's not confirmation the rally is real. Historically, it's been the warning bell. This is exactly why, when XRP put in what a lot of people called the bottom, I pushed back. My crowd tracker was lighting up again, meaning retail was rushing back in, and retail showing up in size has, historically, meant the bottom probably isn't actually in yet. Go check 2017 if you want proof this isn't a new phenomenon. The top forms, the euphoria is at its peak, and then, as the bear market grinds on, the crowd slowly disappears. Less buying, less talk, less hope. Until eventually you get full capitulation, and only then, in that dead silence, does the actual bottom usually form. So where does that leave us right now? There's a second tool I use alongside the crowd tracker. Think of it as a fear and greed style gauge, but tuned specifically to catch early warning flashes near major lows. Historically, right before a real bottom, this gauge tends to flash a very specific warning signal. We didn't see this confirmation a few months back, but right now, the gauge is finally flashing, which tells me we might genuinely be entering the bottoming window, not because price says so, but because behavior says so. That said, I don't think we're fully done yet, and here's the technical reasoning why. If you zoom into Bitcoin's structure since its last major high, you can map out a clean 5-wave advance that peaked when it slammed into a key extension zone in late 2024/early 2025. What's happened since looks like a classic ABC correction, where that B was actually a bull trap that fooled a lot of buyers, and we're now grinding through the C leg down. If you pull a retracement from the low to that high, there's a major structural level sitting around the 38.2% zone, roughly the $56,000, $58,000 range for Bitcoin. That's the level I'm watching as the most likely place for a real base to form. Not a guarantee, but a high probability zone based purely on wave structure and historical retracement behavior. XRP is telling a similar story. It ran hard into its all-time high, corrected, and is now retracing that entire impulsive move. It already found temporary support at the 50% retracement, but the more significant level, the one with real historical weight, is the 61.8% retracement, sometimes called the golden ratio. Why does that matter? Because the last time XRP entered a bear market, it bottomed at almost the exact same fib level. That kind of repetition isn't proof of anything on its own, but it's the kind of pattern that technical traders pay very close attention to. If history repeats, that golden ratio zone is where accumulation begins before any real breakout. Solana adds weight to this whole thesis. If you trace its 5-wave rally from the 2022 lows into its all-time high, the subsequent correction has respected fib levels almost perfectly, bouncing off the 23.6%, then the 38.2%, and now eyeing the 50% retracement as the next likely support. And then there's Ethereum's dominance chart relative to the rest of the market, which, in my opinion, has been the most honest indicator of all. Back in 2021, that same dominance metric carved out an ABC pattern that quietly warned of a bull trap before the rest of the market figured it out. We're seeing the exact same bearish divergence pattern show up again right now. Until that pattern breaks, until we see a clean drop followed by a basing flag, I'm not ready to call a confirmed trend reversal. But the early signs are lining up. Most people date this bear market back to last September or October. I think that's wrong. Based on everything above, the wave structure, the dominance divergence, the retail behavior, I believe we actually transitioned into bearish territory back in early 2025, much earlier than the popular narrative suggests. And if that's correct, it changes the entire roadmap for what comes next. Here's the part that actually matters for anyone thinking long-term. Assuming this corrective structure plays out as expected, XRP's eventual next impulsive wave, what wave theory calls a discovery wave, could be enormous. If price retraces deep, say into the 78.6% zone around 60-something cents, that kind of deep retracement historically sets up the most explosive recoveries, because the snapback tends to match the depth of the pullback. In a purely speculative multi-year scenario, that kind of structure could eventually point toward price levels many multiples above today's. Territory some technical analysts have floated as high as the 20s for XRP. The crowd is loud at tops and silent at bottoms. Right now, the loudness hasn't fully faded, which tells me we're close to a bottom, but maybe not quite there. Watch the quiet. Watch the fib levels. Watch dominance. Those three things together will tell you more than any single price prediction ever could. If this kind of structural, indicator-driven breakdown is useful to you, that's exactly the kind of analysis I'll keep bringing every week. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next update. Drop your own read on where Bitcoin and XRP go from here in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay sharp, stay patient, and I'll catch you soon. Take care. Before we wrap up, a quick financial disclaimer. Please remember that everything discussed in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. Crypto markets are highly volatile, and wave counts can change constantly as new data comes in. This is not financial advice, so always do your own thorough research before making any investment decisions.